Okay, take two. Okay, so as we were saying, talking about Raw and SmackDown going now, they also said that SmackDown. Oh, hello. I'm going to drop that down. Hello.
Oh, yeah.
That SmackDown, that also SmackDown would be going to 3 hours. That's an ask for a Friday night to sit in for a 3-hour wrestling show, especially on the West Coast, where in some places it doesn't start until 8 p.m. So,
well, I agree with you. I just want to say, if they just show an extra hour of the match that they're taping for the fans who want to see it and watch it,
yeah, it's possible.
Yeah,
that's fair.
My whole thing is this, especially with SmackDown. SmackDown doesn't have the roster to do a 3-hour show. They don't.
No.
Yeah.
So they've talked about, well, they'll be doing some people will be shifting around, which maybe the brand split might be a soft break from the brand split, but they're going to have to bring up NXT talent. I could see.
Yeah.
I could see Trick coming up. I would bring up Roxanne easily.
Yeah.
Cora as well. Bring those two up as a duo. You might as well.
They'd probably leave Julia there for a bit because they need someone there.
Well, if you watch NXT, they're making Julia and Stephanie Wakur a team. They're even giving them. If you watch it, they're using the Young Bucks EVP finisher where they double knee the person in the head at the end of the ring. Yeah.
Right. But Stephanie, Julia, and Delta are gonna be carrying that brand for at least the next year. So just to get them ready. But I would bring up like Sol Ruka. And this also ties into what I was talking about. We were talking about backstage. Is there's a real gap with the talent when it comes to the main roster and NXT. On the main roster, you've got the men. The men drive the brand. That is their bread and butter right there. There's a few female stories this year. There's been one really, and we'll talk about that in just a sec, in just a bit. But for NXT, it's the complete opposite. It is the absolute complete opposite. It is completely one-sided, where the women are the bread and butter of NXT. I mean, just look at if you look at the title picture on NXT, you've got Trick. Who else is around him aside from Oba?
And Oba's due up to the big show any day now.
No. I would not. I would let Oba be the face of the men's division of.
It would be if there was other men down there who would like him. The male part of NXT is devoid of talent right now compared to Oba, Femi, and Argue. I'm not a big fan of Trick.
Neither am I.
Yeah.
Neither am I.
Okay. So unless he has a whole bunch
Ego,
of people we haven't seen on TV yet.
Sorry, Ego there. I mean, they announced a match where if Andre Chase loses to Ridge Holland, then Chase U is no longer a thing. Okay, it's time to break up Chase U. That is NXT. That's an NXT 2.0 gimmick, and you could bring Duke Hudson up. You could bring Riley Osborne up. He's dating Blair Davenport, so they can sit in catering and eat until it's time for dark man. I'm just saying. But as far as I might bring up Lexis King. I might. You've got Lexus King, you got Sean Spears, you got Ethan Page, who are all former AEW guys. So, so they have big in ring experience. I wouldn't say big now, but you know they've been on a much larger stage. That's
I didn't realize who Lexus King was.
Yeah,
I didn't realize that. That's interesting.
That's Flying Brian's kid.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow.
I love Flying Brian.
I know. And so there's that, and you know, talking about also Netflix on Raw. They want their own version of the Big Three, which is why this brand split may be quasi no longer happening, because Netflix wants Cody Rhodes, CM Punk, and The Rock. No, I mean not The Rock, Roman.
They're not getting The Rock.
No, they want Cody, Roman, and Punk, and I'm like, well, two of those three are on SmackDown. But then again, Netflix is also throwing $5 billion over the next 10 years.
Yeah, the brand splits are only going to work if they go hardcore into it, like never the brand show me except at pay-per-views, or like or make it so the brands have totally separate wrestling rules. Like right. I don't want to say make SmackDown at the ECW, but you know what I mean. Like different rules for each one, so that you see something different on each brand. You know,
right?
Because otherwise, it's just 10 hours of wrestling a week that we call some Raw. You know what I mean? Some SmackDown, some NXT.
The other thing is you're just going to have the same people on two different shows. Right. You're going to That's why we have a brand split.
And this was all unlike others, I have been a fan of the brand split because before they established it and they introduced SmackDown, it started off you would see different people on SmackDown that you saw on Raw.
Yeah.
But then once a storyline involved Stone Cold or The Rock, Raw and SmackDown became the exact same show, just twice a week.
Yeah.
And so I am all for a brand split because I want folks because unless you have a distinct set of talent that's going to be on a show, they're just going to get pushed down the ladder for the main event stories, and that's it.
Yeah, right, you're now, basically if all the main event stories are on Raw, then SmackDown just becomes Heat.
Right.
Yeah.
And this is with the primary story on SmackDown bleeding on to Raw.
Yeah.
Because the main show on Raw for the last 2 years is now kind of at its tail end. Mm-hmm. You know, the brand split's kind of until we get Drew back or Punk back. You know, there is not a big story going on because right now the biggest story on Raw is Rhea and Liv, and that's been and that is on the tail end. Right now. That is on the tail end. That story is on fumes. Is on fumes, right?
Even if she wasn't out, it would still be on fumes.
Yeah,
it's just like it's been going on too long. This whole thing with Dom. I mean, not.
Well, it's interesting. It's interesting because I did a video this week. Now, because of the injury, you could kind of spread this out. You could try and spread this out a little longer. If you can spread it out and not involve the idol and blow it off at Mania, it'll be 3 years to the day that the feud started.
Mm. I mean, but after WrestleMania, is it definitively over after that?
You know what they should do? So Liv got her storyline going because she was a manipulative bitch and maneuver things. She should start doing it to other people. Not obviously she foretold the eventual breakup of Brianna Belair and Power Woman over there.
Jade.
Yeah, the meds are kicking in, guys. I may say something a little
nice,
weird. So the first thing that goes is remembering people's names. So it's like, anyway, but like, so have Liv start manipulating everyone again. So she's evil again, and not just a comedy act. Have Dom start basically poisoning people like he used to do, and like all the evil stuff he used to do when he was Dirty Dom.
Well, I mean, Dirty Dom. I mean, Dom took a bit of a character shift on the money. Instead of kind of being the cowering little brother, he kind of put Finn in his place.
Yeah. Well, I still remember when I liked the Judgment Day with Dom. His peak was when Dom took Rhea to Thanksgiving at Ray's house and crushed him. Like they just wrecked Thanksgiving for the family, and he needs to do evil stuff. Liv needs to do evil stuff, and not just to the other group of Spanish people on the show. Just develop their characters. Like go back to with evil, like the Ministry of Darkness, right? And when I was like, they didn't do evil to one person; they did evil to everyone. Everyone was afraid of him. Or when Bray Wyatt was around with his original Wyatt family, everyone was afraid of him. You know what I mean? You got to when you're that evil group, everyone's got to fear you. And right now, no one fears the Judgment Day, basically.
Right. So also,
I'm sorry.
So
this is actually going to lead into I think you're going to go into the next topic, Joker, and it's actually going to lead into a question I had.
Okay.
If we're leading into the next topic, I was thinking maybe it's time they just get rid of the women's tag team title and focus on the mid-card title that we saw this week.
So I'm glad you mentioned that, because we got which is something that I have been advocating for months. NXT was the experiment, and it's been relatively well received down there. I think Kalani Jordan was the wrong person to make the champion, but that's just me. We've now been introduced to the Women's United States Championship. Now, from what I am understanding, this will be a floating championship. This title will also float between the brands.
All right.
So, as an experiment, before they decide to go onto a second mid-tier title. Now, the fact that it's on SmackDown, I mean, just looking at the roster there, you got B-Fab, who's a valet. No. You got Elektra Lopez, who's a valet. No. Nia Jax. No. You got Miss Money in the Bank, who's going for a championship.
Main card.
No.
Yeah.
Charlotte. No.
No.
The Bailey. Probably not. Maybe.
He may start it.
But no. Well, here's another thing. So then you've got Michin, Piper, Chelsea, Naomi, Blair, Davenport.
Yep.
Who?
You got Jade,
and B.
Yeah.
So you've got like 7. That's it.
But then go look at Raw. So this actually, I think this works better as a floating championship than a tag team championship, because you cannot field enough tag team. Tag teams has been a real problem for the WWE in a few years because, well, first off, Vinnie Mac did not like tag team championships. We know that.
But tag team wrestling in general.
True.
Yeah. But, the men, they got kind of enough with the men to keep it interesting. But when you look at a lot of the women, I mean, I'm just looking at the roster on the Raw side. There's got to be another 10 women on the Raw side compared to SmackDown. And you're going to take at least 8 of them are going to be in the main title contention. So you have the others just like go for this floating championship, and maybe one runs over on SmackDown just to challenge. Maybe one runs over on Raw. And I think that kind of interaction between the brands would be okay. And then whoever wins, it lives wherever it is for a bit until someone steals it back.
So here's my thought. My thought. You got 2.5 weeks left of TV before Survivor Series. You could do matches to where the women have to earn a spot on a team. At Survivor Series, you have a 4-on-4 traditional Survivor Series elimination match where the sole survivor, the last one standing, becomes the inaugural Women's United States champion.
I'm okay with that.
Bring back that traditional Survivor. Even if it's just one match, I don't care.
For the inaugural, I'm okay with that. Yeah.
So who from the Raw one? I mean, we saw a bunch on the SmackDowns. So who from the Raw are we looking at who could be on the Raw team?
The Raquel.
Okay.
Lyra.
Yep.
Ivy Nile.
Okay. Yep.
Alba Fire.
Okay. What about Nikki Cross?
No.
Or she's too tied into the 6.
I would keep her.
What show is Chelsea and Piper on now?
SmackDown. So on the SmackDown side, I would put Piper, Chelsea, Michin, and Naomi. And I would probably put the belt initially on a face.
Who's your safest bet to put up that belt on then?
Naomi.
Yeah. The other thing is you're going to need someone with experience running the show.
And only because your top 2 women's champions right now are both heels.
Yeah.
Well, the advantage of the mid-card title is it's totally separate from that top card issue. So there's no like, and then maybe once a year you say, oh, I'm the U.S. champion. I want my shot at the gold or whatever.
Right.
And the person ready to move up or whatever. But
which is good to tie in. I'm sure beautifully when we get to the top 5, which I'm sure that was going to. Yeah. So I think this is fine. I eventually as much as I want the women's tag team championships to die, they're here to stay. So I'm just going to have to resign myself.
I think it's going to be all how they use the tag titles from here on out, though.
The one use for the women's tag title, which I like what they do, it is when they have that fatal 4-way where they get 4 of them in there.
Yeah.
That's when women, because when the only 2 circles when women can really show their stuff are when they're wrestling with men who could help them spot up, or there's enough women to set up the big spots. I mean, and that, by the way, you asked a couple weeks ago, I didn't have time to say it. One of the reasons Stephanie Wakur and Yulia and Io are so good because they're used to wrestling with men, meaning, and the men know they have to slow down a little bit to help the women along, but they know they have to be on time, how to hit spots crisply, which the biggest thing you could see if you watch NXT or AEW and watch WWE women's wrestling, the amount of constantly stopping in WWE where the better women have to stop and wait for the setup for the next move in the middle of the flow. You see it constantly, like when Io's wrestling, I don't know who's a brick, like Nia. Like Io constantly has to stop away from Nia to get to the spot.
Oh, Sonya.
Or Sonya, yes. You'll see the better women have to constantly stop in the middle of, like when they're doing running in the rope, they have to run extra time in the rope for the other person to get set up, and and NXT, these women coming along, or AEW or Japan or whatever, because the women are used to wrestling at a higher pace.
Right. So there's that. Now I want to talk about Survivor Series because up until Monday we only had 2. Monday we got our second match confirmed, and we got teased a third match. And because Monday Night Raw is a taped show, we've got spoilers out there, spoilers galore. Hey, Wade, thank you now. Thanks, man. Let me sort there. Thank you. Thank you, sir. So we have the rematch from SummerSlam, and that is Damian Priest challenging Gunther for the World Heavyweight Championship. Now, ever since his defeat at WrestleMania, apparently there's been some doubt that's creeping in Gunther's mind.
Where did this come from?
Well,
Bad writing.
well,
Bad writing.
I personally, I don't have a problem with it as much as long as the outcome is still the same and Gunther now retains.
Well, it's either bad writing or really good writing, in the sense that it's Gunther setting a trap for
But I watched this and I'm like, wait a minute, Damien's trying to plant the seeds of doubt and using what happened in Crown
Jewel.
I'm going Crown Royal.
Whiskey.
Crown Royal's better.
Whiskey.
It works better.
To watch Crown Jewel.
It does work way better.
It makes it much more palatable. It goes down smoother. And I'm just like, wait a minute. The guy is the world champion.
Mm-hmm.
How are you doubting yourself?
Okay,
I mean,
so
I don't either.
There has probably not been a more protected character in WWE other than Roman.
Yeah, I was going to say Roman
and Cody than Gunther. Since Gunther has debuted in NXT UK, he has been pinned 4 times.
Really?
That's it. NXT
wow.
In NXT UK, he lost the NXT UK title to Ilya.
Oh.
In NXT, he lost 1 match to Braun Breaker.
My God, yeah.
And on the main roster, he's lost to Sammy and Cody. That's it. He has been one of the most protected superstars.
Obviously,
I just thought of something.
His like recorded, not his dark matches or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
I just thought of something. This is maybe something that could have been played if they gave him a manager. And I'm going Rocky 3. Remember in Rocky 3 when he's about to face, he's going to face Clubber Lang. He's facing Mr. T, and Mickey's like,
Rock.
He's gonna kill you. He's gonna kill you. And Mickey basically says that as his manager, he set up weak opponents for Rocky to continue his streak.
Right.
So if Gunther, I mean, I'm just saying this could have been an interesting storyline if Gunther had a manager who would have been like, no, I was giving you weak opponents the entire time, and then you could have clipped in the doubt. Because like, wait a minute,
that's way better.
Well,
that would have made sense from a story.
This from what I saw from a story standpoint, Gunther was cocky, and he got beat by a wrestling move. I mean that is
that was awful.
I mean, well, no. The way that match ended was exactly the same as Bret Hart versus Roddy Piper.
Oh,
exactly.
Wow! That's an interesting given the later subjects.
Okay. All right.
It's the exact same way. So, and this was really how Bret won a lot of his matches was through the back door, through a quick hold, something. So Gunther just got outsmarted, and it's bruised his ego. So when Damian comes out, and Damian since SummerSlam has really been doing some of his best work.
Yeah,
I'm just saying. So he comes out and he basically takes Gunther's cards away from, oh, you're going to say this. Oh, you're going to say this. Oh, you're going to say this. You're going to say this. You're going to say this. Now what? And Gunther's got nothing now.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's deconstructing him,
Right. So
showing that he's a paper champion. But it needs. I think it needs to sell it more.
well, you've got 2 more weeks of TV left to go. So
Okay.
but the end result is going to be the same. Gunther will now retain, and because I don't see Gunther losing that belt until Mania. That's just me.
I don't even think Gunther's going to lose in Mania.
Probably not.
I don't think so either, man.
So
maybe.
then we have the other match that we know is happening. That is Bloodline versus Bloodline.
OG Bloodline.
Oh, gee.
Right.
But they've come up with a stupider name. Jeez, I mean, I can't stand that. It was so predictable.
So here's the thing. If it would have stayed 4-on-4 in a War Games match, this match is perfect. Perfectly set up, ready to go, tailor-made. Just throw it in a 2-ring steel cage. There you go, and let me just enjoy it.
Okay.
But no, we have to have a 5th member. Why? Because the 5th member adds 10 minutes on that match.
Oh.
So, Ego, do you know how a War Games match works?
No, and I was just going to ask you how long it was projected to be, but go ahead.
Okay, so the way a War Games match works, you got 2 rings side by side.
Okay.
With a diamond steel plate in between the 2 rings.
Okay. All right.
And do you know why that
the ropes are all still there. The ropes are all still there.
Question, Joker. You know why that plate is there, guys?
No, why?
Because in the 80s, Ric Flair fell between the rings and got trapped in there.
Something happened.
For a little like 20 minutes, he was trapped in between.
I like it.
Yeah.
That makes so much sense, though.
Right. And then there's a steel cage around it. So you start off, 2 people from each team start in the double cage.
Got it.
Okay. Now, one team has an advantage, which means after 5 minutes, one person from their team goes into War Games
from the outside cage.
Right. And they create a 2-on-1. Then that goes for 5 minutes, and then the other team evens the odds. Then after 5 minutes, another advantage, even up, and then once the last person enters the cage, War Games officially begins.
Oh, damn. Yeah. Okay, that's a lot.
And so, War Games ends at the first team to collect a pinfall.
Just one. Okay, one pin. Okay.
Just one pinfall.
But if anyone goes over the cage and jumps out to escape, their team loses.
Oh, I didn't know that rule.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Who would do that?
You'd be surprised. So
yeah, well, there's a variant on the match where it's basically an ECW match where anything counts except you have to get pinned in the ring.
Okay. Right.
So when that happened, that's when like 30 guys coming outside and appear and you get the whole rigmarole.
So the reason you have that 5th member on each team is you're going to pad that time by at least 5 minutes to pad time.
So The Rock is, I guess, the Evil Bloodline's 5th guy.
No.
Oh, no? Yeah. Who's he?
Okay. Now,
or is it the other Hanawari?
How about
here? Hold on. I initially thought The Rock as well, but then I'm also thinking now, if Dwayne Johnson is going to be a part of WrestleMania, and Dwayne Johnson is in his 50s now, does Dwayne really want to put himself in a match like this?
No.
Don't think so at all. Nope.
He wants more control over what he can do so he doesn't hurt himself.
And exactly. So even if he was involved in this match, he's not. He would have a very limited role. Now on Raw, the Bloodline, Jimmy and Sammy, were starting to talk to people on the Raw roster and try and to recruit them. Like in one backstage,
call them True Bloods.
Okay, the True Bloods. So in one backstage clip, you saw Jay actually talking to Rey Mysterio. Why you'd want Rey Mysterio, I have no idea. There's at least
Jacob thought he needs a snack, maybe.
Possibly
a taquito.
But they mentioned, but they had two segments involving Seth Rollins.
Mm-hmm.
Where Seth has said, absolutely not. I'm not doing this. I hate Roman. And Sammy, if anyone knows Roman, you know how he is. Why are you involved in this?
Mm-hmm.
So I have heard from some of the commentators and some of the streamers that they think it's going to be, which makes absolutely no sense at all, Cody Rhodes with Roman and Kevin Owens with Solo. And I'm like, you're insane. That makes absolutely no sense.
But they're going to do it. It's so bad they're going to do it.
Well,
no. Okay, so
the other thing out there,
if you want spoilers, I will put who the members are in the private chat. I'll let you know.
Go ahead.
Yeah, put it in the private chat.
Might as well.
Just so if who's ever watching can see what our reactions are.
Yeah. Hold up.
Oh, hold on. There's the private chat.
I figured that. Not the second one, but I figured the first. Okay.
Okay, but my question is, where does the first go?
So there you go.
So obviously, if you just look at if you just think about it, this is going to play out on the Monday. Now, the same reasoning I had of why Cody Rhodes and Kevin Owens, especially Kevin Owens, makes no sense, came at the end of Raw when we got teased what's going to happen with the women's War Games match. Now, personally, I do not think there needs to be a women's War Games match this year because of the fact the only feud that is worthy would be Liv and Rhea.
Mm-hmm. Well, Joker, the only women's War Game match I'd want to watch would be that 5-on-5 we had on NXT. That's the only one I want to watch.
I got you. So now, what we got at the end of Raw, this is and this is probably going to happen. This is complete Vince McMahon booking, where wrestlers have no memories anymore, and the fans
they're goldfish,
and the fans are just supposed to. Okay, of course. So we had first off a women's tag team championship match, Bianca and Jade versus Liv and Raquel. All of a sudden, out to help to distract Bianca and Jade comes Nia Jax and Tiffany Stratton on Raw. Then out comes Naomi to help even the odds. And then out comes Io. So by the end of the match, after all the shenanigans, you have Naomi, Bianca, Jade, and Io all holding hands raised. And I'm like, excuse me?
What?
So my interpretation is basically Paul's like, oh, shit. I don't have a women's match. I better throw something together on Raw.
So here's why. Because of the injury to Rhea,
yep,
they had to do something quick. So they made Io the number one contender. But Io with these three makes no sense. For the simple fact that the last two women's Survivor Series War Games matches, what was the same for both of them? Who was involved in both of those?
I don't remember.
I don't remember that either.
Damage Control. And on the babyface side, Bianca Belair. So Bianca all of a sudden is cool with Io now. The woman who cashed
Oh.
in the woman
Guys.
who cashed in on her.
Well, that's another thing, by the way.
Guys,
Them isn't throwing out faces. Like, out of nowhere, their faces.
it's okay. It's okay, guys. I know Joker doesn't like it, but today Donald Trump and Joe Biden shook hands and hugged it all out. This is why we can have this now.
This is Rocky IV.
We can forget about whatever we said 2 weeks ago, a week ago. We have memories as goldfish. It doesn't matter. We just have to get this storyline done
Trump
to
just
get to
said
2025
tomorrow. Was Sheik Bronson Reed's going to run out and tsunami slam Biden 17 times?
and last time I checked, Bianca and Liv, not Bianca, Liv, Nia and Liv were just on a beef 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, and I saw the beef.
I don't remember that. I remember.
So now
I just want my fish food. I'm a goldfish.
So now, who is going to be the fifth person on these teams?
I'm not doing anything. I'll go in. I mean, come on, this is ridiculous.
For the heels, this is pretty easy. She's made a return to TV after being off of TV for a while. Hey, Andy, how are you, sir?
What's up, Andy?
After being off of TV for a while, and she's been hanging around Nia Jackson, Tiffany Stratton. That will be the WWE Women's Speed Champion, Candice LeRae. That's an easy one. But now, who's going to be that fifth babyface?
Okay, so who do we got?
I mean,
Just remember,
you can't predict it from storylines because there are no women's storylines except for Liv and Rhea.
Just remember, next the Monday, Raw is a taped show. There's spoilers out there.
So it's probably going to be someone from Raw then, most likely. Dakota Kai?
Throw in the private chat, man.
Kyrie?
Look at
what?
You gotta be fucking. Are you fucking serious? Get the fuck out of here. Are you serious?
Yep.
Oh my
What?
god. This is.
Yep.
Well, no.
Yeah.
I'm not giving this away by saying it, but this is.
I'm not giving this away, but
this
WTF?
This is peak pass the ball to Will from Freshman to Bel Air.
Now.
What?
I would have said
This is
Kyrie
stupid.
is a logical choice, but we would have seen Kyrie at the end of Raw then.
I can't say anything because if I say anything, it's a spoiler.
Vince McMahon booking this entire
Guys, it's the fabulous rule. She's coming back from the dead.
There you go. That's it right there.
Spoiler.
This is a clear example of this was thrown together, and we got nothing. And again, this is the main problem that I have had with Paul Levesque all year long. The booking of the women on the main.
Well, here's
roster.
my thought on that. I think the people he's been firing are a lot of the bookers and whatever. And the only guy who's really booking anything that we find interesting now is Paul Levesque himself. Everything he leaves to other people, like whoever's booking women's divisions, whoever's booking on the mid card, they suck. So he needs to get more talented people in there, or something.
I have a question.
Okay.
So just looking at the talent on the women's division, there's one here who should not be wrestling anymore because of her age. And I'm just wondering if it might be more helpful if Natalya has more involvement in booking. No, I don't know. Okay.
She's demonstrated no skill at that.
Okay, that's what I wanted to know. That's what
She
I wanted
has
to know.
demonstrated skill as a trainer,
Right.
Okay.
but not as a booker.
Now,
Because I'm kind of thinking you need a woman,
and this is
and
also,
not being sexist about it, but maybe someone who understands women wrestling better.
and this is also part of the problem with, like I said, on Raw, there has been one story.
Okay.
When it comes to the women all year long, one, Rhea and Liv. Now, no, I wasn't done yet because I got a few theater. Because, and no shade on Liv. I mean, she has taken the ball and she has run with it, and she has hit a home run with her character this year. Absolutely. They did you know that they put together a faction for the specific purpose of being used in a War Games match? The faction was supposed to be PFC, but no one likes them.
I still don't even know who's in PFC. I just think the name is stupid.
Yeah.
So it's Sonya, Shayna, and Zoe. Three of the most boring.
Yeah. So one of the big things, Joker and I have mentioned this before, the reason there's a whole bunch of guys in AEW would never work for WWE again is when Vince ran WWE with his Iron Claw of Death, he had his hand in every storyline where he would, like, even if someone else was running the story for 6 months, he'd walk in and say, change that and that and make them wrestle a turkey, you know, and just out of nowhere. So there's a whole bunch of, like, the Young Bucks, not the only reason they would never go to WWE because they don't want to be involved with that, you know. So there's a lot of wrestlers who can work in booking in AEW right now. And there's too many wrestlers booking their own storylines, but there's a lot of them who know how to do it. And so the wrestlers who can actually book stuff, as a rule, stay out of WWE because of Vince. Now Triple H is trying to change that. You know, like, for example, AJ Styles could book very well. He helped with the booking in TNA for years, you know. Shinsuke Nakamura and Asuka both booked in Japan. They both own their own wrestling leagues over there, you know. So there are wrestlers they have, but they need more. But you can't just have 3 guys. You really want to have 30 guys, and maybe 10 of them are good at it and the other try. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You like Dusty, when he came up as a wrestler, started booking as a wrestler, then became a trainer and a booker and all that. But when Vince was in control of WWE, he didn't let him do shit. So Triple H took him down to NXT. Well, that's all the NXT, you know. Now, you know, you got to get more talent. You got to get more of the wrestling talent to develop through in the new WWE that does not have Vince shitting all over everything, you know.
Right.
So that's Triple H's biggest problem behind the scenes right now, you know.
Right, and this is again, this has been a learning curve for him. Yeah. So he's got. So I'm willing to let stuff play out, but if something is egregious, I'm gonna call it out. So I'm not just
a big thing. By the way, we saw Arn Anderson behind the scenes in WWE. If Dustin does come back, that's a big behind the scenes guy. He knows how to book. He knows how to produce. He knows the whole bit. So that's someone who, while his wrestling career may be winding down, his behind the scenes career, if you go to WWE, could be very helpful to Triple H.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I can see that.
Definitely.
Boots on the ground kind of guy. That works.
Yeah.
So so now that we're all here, let's lighten the mood a little bit and go with the top 5s. That's right, folks.
So what was this week's top 5? Because I don't remember.
The best intercontinental champions of all time.
Oh, I can kind of go with this off the top of my head for my favorites and give some reasons. But,
okay,
cool.
Yeah. So we will go with. So we'll start with Brad, and we'll go Ego, Matt, and then we'll come to me. So, Brad, your number 5.
Hold on one second. I just want to write everyone's down here.
Okay.
My number 5 is the greatest IC champion ever, because that's what he called himself all the time. The Honky Tonk Man.
Okay.
Wow. Oh my God. You thief. You bloody thief.
The reason, and I remember the Honky Tonk Man when I was a kid, because that's when I started watching wrestling. And
Golden Age.
And he was such a great heel. he was a ridiculous character, and he always wrestled in his Elvis style jumpsuit, and he held it for over a year, I think. What is it? I wrote it down.
434 days, I think.
Yeah,
He had a really long run and a really short run, I think, right after or before that.
I think he just had one run. I think it just had one.
I thought he got it back and then he left WWE.
Nope. 454 days,
Okay.
and he lost it to Ricky the Dragon.
Yeah.
Nope.
All right.
No. He didn't lose it to Ricky the Dragon.
Warrior.
Also Warrior.
Warrior. That's right, because he won it from Steamboat.
Correct.
And then he lost it to Warrior.
Some of them are Slam, I think.
Right. And I know most of the times that the way I see the IC belt is like it's to propel you to the next step. But I think what he did was we needed a good bad guy in a championship role. And I think he did that really well to set it up for what eventually was Warrior, even though it wasn't originally meant to be Warrior.
Gotcha.
Who won it.
All right, Ego, you're number 5.
My number 5, honestly, this is thanks to you guys. My number 5 is actually going to be Braun Breaker, even though it's technically one of the shorter reigns that I've seen. Like Bradley, like you said, the Intercontinental is supposed to be the next step. It's supposed to be kind of not necessarily a placeholder, but like, hey, this person's going to come up on the rise. We're putting a belt on to show like, hey, he's going to be watching out for something in the future. And I think for me, seeing Braun Breaker, the strength, the speed, that Frankenstein from the top rope with the signature sign off, for me, it's like,
that's beautiful.
Fantastic. It's goddamn beautiful. I'm not sure if they showed if he's the one that had Paul Heyman possibly as his mouthpiece. Okay, that's what I was saying months ago. That's what he was missing, is someone to help him on the mic to firmly.
I said it the other week.
Yeah, as a threat. So I'm like, damn, I know that we're going to look back and say like, hey, we saw it way back there, even before the Intercontinental Championship was placed on you. You're going to at some point be undisputed. And this is your first stop. I hate that it had to be Jey Uso that he took down, which makes it even more irritating that I know you did, which why it makes it irritating that they gave it to Uso in the first place, only for him to lose it back to the guy that had it before, whatever. But the timing was perfect for him with everything else happening. It was time for Sami Zayn to drop the strap. I mean, this guy's pretty much got a rocket strap to his back at this point, and it's just a matter of time before he's undisputed. So for me, watching this in real time with him being the Intercontinental Champion has automatically got him in my top 5 for me.
Okay. With Heyman, he's going to go that way.
Yeah.
All right, Matt.
He's Heyman.
Okay, so I can't really, because I'm doing it off the top of my head, and so I'm going with 5 guys who, for reasons I enjoyed them more than anyone else, right? So since you mentioned the Honky Tonk Man, I'm gonna save him for, since I know you're ranking these by points, right? Mm-hmm. So the top guy gets the most points or whatever. I'm gonna save him for a little later. So because I have actual like legit reasons for that. So who can I say as a number 5? Pedro Morales.
Ooh, nice.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So when I was a little kid, right, and wrestling was something you watched on Scratchy, UHF, and all that sort of shit.
Jesus.
And you mailed each other videotapes and all that stuff, right? I discovered the luchadors on Scratchy, UHF, and all that. And then I was like, and there was some interplay between some lucha and some WWE, right? And Pedro Morales was one of those guys. He caught my attention. And I was like, this guy can put on a good show in the ring. As a kid, I thought that. And then I remember I went to, I think, one of my first live shows, and he was there as an Intercontinental Champion. And I don't remember who he fought. I think I was 9 or whatever, 8, 7, 6. So I was a little kid, But I always was impressed by Pedro's, like, his ability to put the other guy over, his ability to, even when he was with a potato, so to speak, he was able to make them look really good. That's a lost skill, by the way. That putting guys are trained to begin to put the other guy over, but when the other guy sucks, putting them over is tough. That's a lost skill. And I always, maybe because as a little kid, and Pedro was the first guy who really caught my attention as sort of like what a champion. Not the top guy who was Hogan at the time, of course. But Pedro just caught my attention, and that led into a whole little sequence of champions, which ended with the Honky Tonk Man, by the way. In the 80s, the sequence. But I'll get Pedro Morales as my 5th.
Right on. Now, before I go, I'm going to thank everyone in the chat who is here, who's been commenting and whatnot. I know this is a secondhand stream, I will add everyone's links into the description into the description later. But thank you for everything, and we have a little word from our sponsor here. Take it away, Harley.
I'd say you better subscribe or we'll bash in some skulls, right?
Okay, so thank you, Harley, again. So
I feel threatened.
Yeah, probably should. My number 5. My number 5 is the Macho Man, Randy Savage.
Oh, wow.
Nice.
Yep. For the simple fact that, and much like my other ones, they use this title to propel them to the next level. This was the logical stepping stone. So, Macho, IC idol, battles to a Steamboat, back and forth are legendary, and then got himself into the main event picture because of his time as Intercontinental Champion. Oh yeah! So my number 5, Macho Man Randy Savage. Okay, Ego, you're number 4.
Oh wait, we're switching now. Okay, my number 4. All right, again, because I saw this in real time, and it was one of the predictions that I'm the most proud of for the entire year. I'm not even gonna lie to you. Be lucky this isn't number 1.
Don't say Jey Uso.
Jey Uso. You're lucky it wasn't number 1 because it was me calling it early. I was so proud of myself. But yes, I give it. He's my number 4, just because I saw this in real time. I don't necessarily know as much as you guys about wrestling, but I could say if there was one person I saw was wasn't over, it was Jey Uso. I said, hey, put a belt on him, and Intercontinental works perfectly. Okay, it worked out fantastically, especially after his reception in Lyon, France. I said, hey, this guy's too over not to have something. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't. Neither one of y'all do this.
I'm sorry. I'm just trying to connect. I'm just trying to connect letters to make Jey Uso show up on my list.
Yeah.
I got a few letters. You can mix up.
There are 2 of them. You got 2 of me. One's an F and the other's a U. I got you.
I would say it's less of him, but more of me calling it. But I thought that it was well deserved enough. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm Ego for a reason, damn it. So that's why he's number 4. Not for him, for me.
There you go.
We're just giving you shit just for shit.
No, it's all good.
That's fine.
I was just glad I called it in advance. That's all.
All right, Brad, your thoughts.
My number 4 pick, I'm going with Gunther.
Ooh, kind of low.
And I know that's not going to make Joker happy because I imagine he has Gunther much higher. But again, 666 days. The champion who's the neighbor of the beast. He and I give him credit for this. I'm not particularly a fan of Gunther, but I do recognize. I know he's not my favorite guy. I'm not saying he's not talented. I'm not saying he's not talented. I'm not saying he doesn't have skill, but he's not my. I got kicked. Usually I get kicked when I start talking Star Trek. But I mean, what I do give Gunther credit for is this. The IC belt at the time was like just kind of like sitting out there hanging nowhere. When Gunther got the belt and he ran it that long as a champion, he gave some credibility to it that made people want to go get it. And that's why I put him on as, and now maybe you gotta say he's lower than maybe some of the others, but I don't think in the 30, 40-year history of the IC belt, I think for the modern era, no one exemplifies a champion more as someone who elevated the belt in the modern era than Gunther, who made people want the belt.
Which, by the way, do you remember the answer to the trivia question from last week? Who did Gunther beat to become Intercontinental Champion? Ego, do you remember?
Who he beat?
Yeah.
I can't even remember that. Did
I write it down?
Ricochet.
I didn't write it down.
Ooh.
Who was it?
Ricochet.
Oh, that's right.
Oh, that's right, because he had it for 98 days. Yeah, yeah. You did say that.
All right, so Matt, you're number 4.
Number 4. Let's see. Okay, this is going to sound funny why I picked him. Tito Santana.
Okay.
Or
Okay.
as Jesse Ventura used to call him in one of WWE's old racist gimmicks, Chico Santana.
Chico.
Yeah. Tito.
WWE?
Yeah. Tito was an underrated wrestler.
WWF.
He got back then, especially the belt. When you got the belt from Vince or anyone else as a promoter, it meant you were making money for him, right?
Right.
Mhm.
So when Tito fought his way up, and because he's an average build guy, he doesn't look like the classic Vince. You know, if anything, you could say almost the Gunther of his day. He doesn't look overly built, but he had a wrestling skill set that put him over and caught Vince's attention. And so when he got the IC title, and he ran with it for however. I don't think it was an incredibly long run,
No,
but I remember enjoying his run, seeing a guy who could actually have that classic wrestling skill at a time when Vince was basically making giant monsters, phenoms, and bodybuilders. The sport still earn money and be entertaining. So Tito Santana, again, I'm naming 5. Well, number 1 and 2 are like 1 and 2, but the other 3 are just 3 guys I've come up with. You know.
Gotcha. My number 4 is the excellence of execution, Bret the Hitman Hart.
Okay.
And to be quite honest, you could interchange this with Shawn Michaels. I mean, it depends on the day, really, to do with these two. These two made this belt worth something. These two made this belt exciting. And again, use this title to elevate themselves into the main event scene. So again, what you're supposed to do. All right, Ego, you're number 3. I'm just dying to hear this.
You know what? I'm actually gonna rewind this one
Jay
back.
Uso again.
If I could, I would. Okay, I would say Uso Jay at that point. You know what? I'm gonna go with Stone Cold Steve Austin for this one. I think mainly for me, I never really understood the Intercontinental title like I do now, but back then it was kind of to introduce the characters and have something on the line. I know that you don't necessarily need that now, but back then I was like, okay, well, these guys have a feud. Well, what are the stakes? And so when Stone Cold and The Rock were going back at it, that whole, I think, 97, 98, which was right around the year that, Austin 316 had come out that same year. You know, he'd had the beef with Owen Hart. Now he's setting his sights on The Rock. They're going back and forth on it. There's the whole Stone Cold using his semi-truck to win a title. And it really set the stakes for me that there was something on the line, because otherwise I didn't understand feuds where nothing was on the line. Factions were a maybe, but again, I was watching WCW, so it was like everyone was joining the NWO every week. So for me, it's like, okay, well, if I'm watching Raw, why do you have beef? Oh, Intercontinental title. I should tune into this. I really wasn't concerned with the World Heavyweight Championship around that time as much as it was Intercontinental, because they had so many storylines around it. So for all of Stone Cold's anti-Christian hijinks, which were fantastic in my household for me, I have Stone Cold number 3.
Okay. Brad, you're number 3.
My number 3, considering my number 1 last week, the 9-time Intercontinental Champion, Y2J Chris Jericho, who is still probably one of my top 5 favorite wrestlers.
Okay.
And again, you know, even though he had it 9 times, I think I wrote down what was the number I saw, 311 days. He didn't have it a long time.
No.
But there were no remarkable feuds. But the thing about Jericho was, you know, he is a great wrestler, but he's also a great voice on the mic. And he can be a great heel, he can be a great face. So when he got the IC belt, he elevated it. Same way like Gunther kind of did too. So he had great championship matches. He had RVD. You had Jeff Hardy. You had Christian. You had Chris Benoit. This is all back in the early 2000s. And he always made it seem significant because Y2J was a personality. And, he was actually floating. He was the undisputed championship for a bit, the combined champions. So he would always go back and forth. And he had enough credibility to keep the belt elevated as something like, you know what? It's not the main belt, but it's important. You need someone to be able to do that, and that's what he did.
All right, Matt.
So
number 3.
My number 3. So we all see guys like, especially you younger fans. You know who the Undertaker is. You know who Stone Cold is. You know who Swerve Strickland is or whatever. But remember, like I showed you, Swerve was Killshot, Lucha Underground, and all that. These guys had histories before that. That if you're old enough, you didn't know them, right? So when Mark Calloway made this transition to the Undertaker, and it worked. Everyone, unless you've seen him before, you only ever know them as the Undertaker, right? So the guy to me and you mentioned him for Joker, the Macho Man. I remember the Macho Man when he was like Leaping Lenny Poffalo's brother.
Right.
What was his name? He was a Poffalo too before he became Macho Man.
Randy Poffo, I think.
Yeah, it was a joke character basically,
Yeah.
And again, Macho Man owned at least part of the trademark because he was capable of taking the Randy Savage name with him to WCW. So he developed a lot of the character on his own. And when he became Intercontinental title holder, that's when I first began to take him seriously. And I realized this gimmick works and only works if it's pushed to the top.
Right.
If he's like if he's a mid-carder and you're the Macho Man, you're just going Inferno. You know what I mean? You're and like the Undertaker only works if he's a top level character. You let no sell a bunch of stuff, and he'll put guys over. Obviously, I'm not saying that, but the point is for the gimmick to work, it's got to be a gimmick at the top.
Gotcha.
And Intercontinental title, the Macho Man. When I began to respect him as a talent who came up with this gimmick and elevated it to the top, with his work on it. So that's my number 3.
My number 3 is when I hear the term Intercontinental Champion, the first person that comes to my mind, even though he never elevated past the Intercontinental Championship level, Mr. Perfect. Mr. Perfect to me was the epitome of the Intercontinental Champion, especially during the time he was. And I've said it numerous times. Imagine if Kurt Hennig hit his stride after Hulkamania, when he was there when he was in his prime with Brett and Shawn. How much different the WWF, how different that landscape that would look. Absolute consummate pro. Knew he was never going to get the top prize, but sold the Intercontinental Championship as something, if not equally, on the same level that a belt you want to attain. So that's why I have him at number 3. All right, Ego, you're number 2.
Number 2, I am actually, it's one of the closest people I think of when I think of Intercontinental Champion, Triple H. Especially that, 97-98 run. I mean, I think I can't remember maybe seeing him in WCW. And
Terrorizing.
Yeah, it was that. And then I think towards the end, he tried to do the Hunter Hearst Helmsley thing before he got to WWF. It was around the same time. Okay. Either way, maybe I've seen WCW, but when I knew when he got to WWF, it was the whole Hunter Hearst Helmsley thing, which I didn't think really had any legs to stand on for me at all. Especially when I was like, okay, it looks like Lord William Regal. It looks the same thing. This looks boring as shit. So, once he was in DX, like, okay, so you've got a stable. But once he put the Intercontinental Championship on him and he was able to do his feud back and forth with The Rock, for me, I think that established him more of a singles competitor for me rather than someone that's trying to lead a stable, and he completely shut off the pretentious Hunter Hearst Helmsley gimmick to me. And I can see now, like I said, he's not one of my favorite wrestlers, but I can see why he was, undisputed champion so many times over. He was fantastic on the mic. He would at some point put people over. his move, the pedigree. My brothers still to this day do that. The sledgehammer gimmick worked. I mean, I can't say enough about the work he's done over time, and I don't think it starts without him being like Intercontinental Champion and setting himself apart from DX and the Hunter Hearst Helmsley moniker.
Gotcha. All right, Brad, you're number 2.
4 championship reigns, 434 days. Say hello to the bad guy, Razor Ramon.
Yeah, that's nice.
4-time champion, elevated him to the top spot. He had great feuds with who did I see?
Shawn Michaels.
I didn't even no. I didn't even get to that. I'm just saying he had feuds with Goldust, Jeff Jarrett, but the best was him and Shawn Michaels. Okay, these 2 ladder matches defined ladder matches. It's like, how was your ladder match? Compare it to Razor and HBK. Oh, not even there. How close did you get? It's the standard. He had his character. He had an ego that people loved to hate.
Oh yeah.
Even though he was a bad guy, you loved him. He was great. And in that early 90s time, that's when the shift started happening to that realism thing. Great character, and dude had skill. And when he did the South of Heaven, no, not the South of Heaven,
Razor's Edge.
The Razor's Edge. That thankfully, he adopted from Damian Priest. Nice try, Damian. Not even close. But,
for a while,
he's getting better.
And for a while, the Razor's Edge was the most protected move in all of WWE.
Yeah, and remember,
and then Scott Hall passed away.
The Diamond Stud before in WCW with Dallas Page's manager. The Razor's Edge, what was it called? The Diamond's Edge or something like the Diamond
Cutter.
Diamond Cutter, yeah. Cutter.
Mm-hmm.
Well, do you know what the most protected move in WWE is now?
Tombstone Piledriver?
Is anyone even allowed to do the Tombstone now that Undertaker is retired?
Oblivion.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Liv Morgan's move.
Really?
It's been kicked out of once.
Yeah.
Interesting.
All right, Matt,
So
you're number 2.
So for number 1 and number 2, you mentioned a lot of great guys. Obviously, Mr. Perfect, one of the top 20 all-time favorite wrestlers. Bret Hart, Razor Ramon. I think Rick Rude had the Intercontinental title at one point or another. And Rick Rude is one of my top 10 favorite wrestlers of all time. Okay.
So Rick Rude?
One of my top 5 favorite gimmicks of all time. Okay. But no, it's not. So my top 2 have been mentioned already. And it's tough to put them in order, but I'm going to go with Gunther as number 2.
Okay.
A close number 2. Because Gunther brought, like, if you notice, I mentioned almost no one with an Intercontinental title after, like, the early 90s, because it became a sort of, like, stepping stone, like I have the 2 months and a challenge for the big title, right, type of thing. Like, from the mid-90s to Gunther, it was not a respected title on its own, and it was always just, like, the other, I got the IC title, now I can go up the ladder,
Right.
And Gunther carrying that title as well as he did. And I followed Gunther from his days when he was Walter for like 15 years or whatever. If there's 2 people I follow for longer than anyone who came in, who's just coming in more recently. I mean, obviously Kevin Owens I followed since the beginning of 2001, but Gunther and Piper I followed for like 15 years, and he's got his shot. Hopefully she gets her shot, But so he brought prestige back to that title with that long run and all great matches. He's I talked about Tito Santana. Gunther doesn't look like he's a gigantic pure wrestling physical stud, but the guy knows how to work the ring. He knows how to post. He knows how to put guys over. He has the ability to put other people over when they suck. He has the ability to wrestle different styles, matching fast styles and slow styles and all that sort of stuff. He knows how to sell his opponent's moves, so Gunther deserves, to me, that's why he's number 2. It's a close choice of my number 1. So,
Gotcha. My number 2 is also the Ring General, Gunther. 666 days as a champion. During the Vinnie Mac days, that would have never been heard of, especially the Intercontinental Championship.
Mm-hmm.
At least past the golden years era. This guy, again, as I had said during this time frame, the IC title was a joke. It was just hot potato around. Oh, here, you can have it. No, 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 you go in. Gunther took the belt and said, "It's mine," and held it for almost 2 years. And was just a dominant champion. Now, it's because of his work with other people who helped him get along. I mean, the fact that he is as good on the mic as he is now was because of a program was because of a 2-month program he did with The Miz. The Miz got him to where he is on the mic, because that's the Miz's strength.
Miz is an underrated dude, really.
He just sucks.
Well, wrestling sucks, but his character skill is good.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Miz needs to be a manager.
Yeah.
So Gunther is just, and he's only going to get better. His stock is only going to rise, and I think as far as a title run goes, it's because of seeing him as IC champion that I watched old NXT UK matches. I mean, watch the match where he drops the title to Ilya. That match is amazing. Absolutely back and forth, slobber knocker, hard hitting. It is just a thing of beauty. Gunther, second greatest IC champion of all time. All right, Ego, you've had no crossover with anyone this entire show. Let's see who you got for no.
It's going to be Jey Uso's second reign in the future.
Right.
Actually, no, I'm joking.
Jade Cargill.
If only
China.
I could dream. If only you let me dream. No, I said China's was the worst. I said that one with.
That's why Jade's is going to be the best.
No, I'll be true to this one and be honest with you. I've got Gunther as my number 1. Actually, it wasn't the fact that it's a 666 day reign. It's who he beat. I'm gonna actually read this shit in reverse. Sami Zayn, Cameron Grimes, Kofi, Bronson Reed, Ciampa, Matt Riddle, Mustafa Ali, Xavier Woods, Madcap Moss, Braun Strowman, Rey Mysterio. Okay, now look at this. Beat the Miz twice, Jey Uso twice, Drew McIntyre twice, Nakamura twice, Ricochet twice, Chad Gable 3 times, Sheamus 3 times. Talk about clearing out your whole fucking division. I can't put him anywhere else but number 1 if you told me that's his hit list. And not only did he clean out the division, he beat at least several people, at least twice, if not 3 times. Just for that alone, it's like that's Manny Pacquiao clearing out the entire division and leaving no one else. And honestly, having to be elevated to world champion because you beat everybody else with lower stakes. Not that I'm saying Intercontinental is lower. It's just that, world championship is higher to me than Intercontinental. So, I mean, he had no choice but to make him world champion after he cleaned the division. So, I mean, he's number 1 because of that.
Okay. No arguments. Brad.
As an older rock and wrestling fan from the 80s, I got to go with like one of my favorites, Randy Macho Man Savage.
Oh yeah. Step into it.
When I think of the IC belt, it's like that's what started him going. And this is, like we were saying, it's like the IC belt. If you can do it well, it's a stepping stone for you. And he had his character going, like we were talking about earlier. It's like Randy Poffo, then he became the Macho Man. and he was meant to be a heel. Think about it. We were meant to hate him, but people still loved him. People love Macho Man. And then he got the belt.
I think Elizabeth helped with
Well, yeah, that's when like some of us were like, ooh, there's a tingling somewhere that we didn't realize before. That was right after, Slave Leia. So many of us became older at that point. But again, that's when he developed who he was. That's who he became, the Macho Man, carrying that belt. And still to this day, I stand by this. One of the best matches I've ever watched. WrestleMania 3, because we had it on pay-per-view in my house. Steamboat and Macho Man.
Nice.
It was 13, 14-minute match. Just beautiful. Beautifully done. Beautifully executed by two men who understood their craft and told a fantastic story. So to cap off his reign before he goes on to the big belt with literally one of the best matches I've ever watched, that's why I got to put Macho top.
Gotcha. All right, Matt.
I remember just on the Steamboat Macho Man feud, which is probably one of the top 10 feuds of all time, when Macho Man took the ring bell and Steamboat with the ring bell and the lead up to. Anyway, that's one of my favorite matches of all time. You told me. So my number one guy, and he's been mentioned before by a thief who stole him from me, is the Honky Tonk Man. Okay. So when you're a little kid growing up and you first get interested in wrestling, now mind you, my family, I learned how to really wrestle from my family when I was 2. So I knew wrestling as a sport. That's when I was a kid, But when you watch pro wrestling, and first you're not sure it's fake. What are these guys doing? Then you eventually learn over time. Well, it's not fake say an action movie's fake, but they're doing stuff that could hurt each other, but they're doing it to entertain you, not to beat each other. It's scripted, right? So you learn. Mm-hmm. So at first you get interested at the first level, the spectacle of them doing it. So you see the Hulk Hogan, you see the King Kong Bundys and all these big guys and whatever. And then you start to appreciate the craft when you know that it's an art that they're doing. And Honky Tonk Man, as a heel champion for so long, I can see all the little things you do as a heel. When you walk up and you punch the face in the nuts 5 times and the ref yells at you, and then while he's on the ground, you yell at the crowd like, "Listen, you mother bleeper!" And you walk around and you work the crowd into it, and then you put guys over appropriately, and you put yourself over. Honky Tonk Man was a great wrestler. People forget that. And with his gimmick, the Honky Tonk gimmick, and he had, and when he was a heel for so long, he became like a beloved heel, But I learned the art of the heel wrestling in a lot of ways from watching the Honky Tonk Man and how he carried that championship. Because they put a title on someone for 2 years or whatever it was.
Almost, yeah.
Yeah. Remember, these titles mean that the person will draw money to the shows. So when the Honky Tonk Man shows up at his show and Vince puts a title on him, he's saying, "I expect you to sell more tickets. I expect you to sell more merch." And that's what those title runs, especially back then, they meant. And so, and the Honky Tonk Man doing that work, putting all that heel heat on that belt. So when he finally lost it, it was like a bomb going off, So, and Heenan was his manager for a good part of that run. So he had the Honky Tonk Man.
Jimmy Hart too, right?
Yeah, Jimmy Hart for a while.
Yeah.
Heenan started. I think Heenan got hurt, and then Hart took over because of the Honky Tonk image with the music and all that.
Yeah.
Anyway, who, by the way, Jimmy Hart was a real life manager for the wrestlers and a booker and a producer and all that.
Yes.
Even I don't know if he's still working now, but until his 70s, he was doing. Anyway, but that is a main part of Honky Tonk Man is to me. Whenever I think Intercontinental title, the first that comes to mind is Honky Tonk Man. The second that comes to mind is Gunther.
Gotcha.
Okay.
My number one has already been mentioned, and it is the 9-time champion Y2J Chris Jericho.
Wow.
So
I'm surprised, dude.
Well, here is the thing. Jericho defined what the upper mid-card title guy should be. He is the mainstay of the mid-card, and he can pop up into the main event and scene every now and then just to make it interesting. But this guy is your standard for what your mid-card talent should be. And has been there since he came to the WWF and found his niche. Has reinvented himself numerous times during his runs. So that's why he's my number one.
He just did it again as the learning tree.
Let's not talk about that. That's awful.
No, but it's making you hate him.
Right.
You know, he's a heel, you know. And when he drove Samoa Joe on a bulldozer or whatever it was through a wall, I was like, yeah.
Okay. So we have.
I know who number one is, but let's get the others.
In third place is Y2J Chris Jericho.
Okay. All right.
That was with 8 points. With 9 points in second place. Oh, yeah. The Macho Man, Randy Savage.
And how many points for the number one?
With 15 points.
Oh.
The Ring General, Gunther. So, next week, we'll be going over our top 5 worst WWE tag teams.
Oh, worse.
Hey, do you have managers in there somewhere?
No, none, not yet.
These have to be established tag teams, though. It can't just be that one time that you know, the midget teamed up with what's his face.
Braun
like
Strowman,
actual tag teams.
Yeah. Braun Strowman and Nicholas does not count as an.
Yeah.
Well, wait. Does a Rock Sock connection count?
I was thinking that. Okay.
But they shouldn't be on that list. Well, you could be. I just don't think.
All right. So this is the worst, though.
This is the worst. I can think of. Oh my God.
Lots. There's lots.
Okay. How do I spell Heart Foundation?
I will kill you.
Don't you dare. Don't you dare.
So, Ego, what have you got coming up?
Working on a new Disney grievances video since I went more well than I thought I was going to do. So I'm working on that. Actually going to be working on a new show format.
Oh, Frozen.
I've never seen Frozen actually. I don't get the hype. I don't understand. I don't get the hype. I don't understand it at all.
Let it go, dude, and go watch it.
Just let it go.
Let it go.
I get that
just
reference.
Let it go, man.
That reference.
Let it go.
Just let it go. Man.
And that's why I don't get it. Maybe I'll check it out. It just I feel weird. Like
because you're sexist and you hate women. I got you.
It's just like
just let it go.
It seems like they're like 9 or 10 or 11.
Let it go. Let it go. Let it go over your hatred. Let it go.
Yeah.
This is why I'm not doing Frozen because that's gonna all.
It's okay to like women, man. It's okay to like women.
So what do you got coming up, Ego?
Let it go.
I'm working on editing those and a new show format I got coming out maybe towards the end of the month. As always, me and she will be doing Ordinary Games next Sunday at 5, and I think I might be on with Ryan and Dempsey Sunday at 3 p.m. Central for one of their shows live. Gotcha.
Matt, how are you doing, sir?
Oh, I'm laying here in the dark in my room with my my neighbor who's sleeping over there, and waiting for my UTI to clear up and all the joys of rehab.
So hopefully we will have Matt back in time to do a comprehensive analysis of Survivor series.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I'm hoping to be home by Thanksgiving, so we'll see.
Good. Yeah. And Brad, what do you have coming up, sir?
Well, I actually have 3 videos that I just put out the last couple of days because I had time over the weekend to finally record after hiding from hurricanes and going on vacation. So I actually have 3 videos, which are one is a Doctor Who video, which features some highlights from my visit to Pompeii. And then I have talking about Captain Black Falcon's trailer. One is an actual talk about it. The other is me being a shill saying this is the greatest thing ever. How can we not love this? Oh my God. OMG.
Let it go, Brad. Just let it go.
Let it go, Brad.
I did, because actually I don't think I was good enough at it. But I actually just watched the Thunderbolts before the show started, so I got something coming out a day or so after I finished editing. Tomorrow night I will be on Static 2020's weekend pregame. I think we're talking about aliens, and not the ones running across the border.
Gotcha.
So we'll see where that goes. Wackiness will ensue.
Nice. And for myself, you can catch me on with Roman of the Empire tomorrow night. We'll be talking about our favorite war films. I tried to get Starship Troopers in there, and he said that doesn't count. And I said, it's a war. It's the military. And he said, well, no, it doesn't count. I said, well, what about Star Wars? And he's like, no. I'm like, war is in the name of the movie. No. So I've got something special planned just for him.
Yeah.
And then I've got a video coming out on Friday. Don't know the what yet, but stay tuned. And definitely stay tuned until next week, folks, as we will all be back here talking more WWE.
And you can find out if Eagle does indeed let it go next week.
Exactly. And until then, folks, keep talking, keep smiling, keep having fun. Toodles.
And here we go.
Is like gravity. All it takes is a little push.
Ah!